crispy on the outside and soft on the inside. Baguette is not an obsession for the French. It's a way of life, a daily ritual that makes the country consume around 30 million pieces of this bread every day, or over 10 billion a year. Baguettes are baked in small bakeries, or boulangeries. There are almost 35,000 bakeries in France. There is a benchmark to qualify for the term bakery. One of the criteria requires the baguettes to be prepared and baked on site and also without being frozen at any time. We visited Christian Vabret, an artisan baker in the heart of Paris, whose memories with baguettes are as old as he could remember.
Alors, je suis né moi dans le pétrin, c'est-à-dire j'ai eu la grande chance d'avoir mes parents avant moi qui ont exercé ce beau métier et je dormais au-dessus du pétrin de mon père et donc la nuit j'entendais le pétrin, donc peut-être ça a éveillé une certaine passion et puis peut-être une vocation qui m'aura permis aujourd'hui d'exercer ce métier. Donc ça c'est il y a très longtemps et je fais toujours ce métier avec passion.
The French want their baguettes to be fresh and crisp. Unlike the standard baguette, the traditional baguette is crustier with a noticeable flavor.
Le baguette, c'est le symbole de la France, n'est-ce pas? C'est le pain qu'on achète normalement tous les jours. C'est le pain qu'on aime manger. Il y a des différences entre la bonne baguette et la baguette industrielle qui est, à mon avis, immangeable.
It is also a bit pricier comparatively and requires more effort to make. It must not include ingredients other than the basic four: water, wheat flour, yeast, and common salt. Why can't it have any other ingredients? Because the law says so. It's legally regulated by a decree. The bakers use these four ingredients to make the dough. It is then kneaded until smooth. The baguette is a fermented food. The dough goes through fermentation, which enhances the flavor and even helps with digestion. You can see pockets of air inside, which is a result of fermentation. The decree, dated back in 1993, allows the bakers to use sourdough, yeast, or a combination of both for fermentation. Once the dough is twice its original size, it is removed and cut into smaller sections.
Alors, pour faire le métier de boulanger, il faut être persévérant. Parce que c'est un métier qui doit être finalement très régulier. Donc tous les jours, il faut essayer de faire le même produit. Sinon le client s'en aperçoit et il se demande qu'est-ce qui se passe. Donc il faut être persévérant, il faut être résistant bien sûr, parce que tous les jours, il faut avoir finalement les conditions d'un sportif de haut niveau.
Then it is rolled and folded into its final shape. Many bakers put the dough into lined cloth. This helps the bread keep its shape while it rises.
Alors la grande chance d'être passionné, c'est que vous ne regardez pas finalement votre satisfaction en étant rémunéré pécuniairement, c'est votre investissement dans le métier et dans tout ce que vous faites qui vous enrichit. Et vous êtes tellement pris par cette passion que vous, automatiquement, vous êtes bien dans votre vie, vous êtes bien dans votre peau et vous êtes bien dans votre entourage et vous faites partager surtout. Et c'est les principes en général des meilleurs ouvriers de France, mais des gens qui aiment se former ou faire passer ces messages.
It is then cut across the top with a blade which helps the loaf bake evenly. The loaves are then placed in a hot oven until they're golden brown and ready to serve.
Oh bah la baguette, c'est la France. L'odeur, le croustillant, le moelleux, le petit goût de noisette, il faut qu'elle soit excellente.
Quand on mange une bonne baguette, on n'y pense pas trop. Quelquefois, faut prendre la réflexion de goûter à une bonne baguette.
The baguette should not have any additives or preservatives, which also means they can go stale within 24 hours. You have to buy them daily, although they stay fresh up to 8 hours. Even if they lose their freshness, they can be cooked in the form of breadcrumbs, toast, etc.
J'aime bien quand c'est croustillant, un peu fondant, et j'aime bien le goût, le parfum que ça peut avoir. Ouais. J'aime bien.
First recognized as a bread back in 1920, the history of baguette goes way back. Long, wide loaves of bread were common in the country long before 1920. According to some sources, such loaves were being baked at the time of King Louis XIV, but much of its history is speculation and legends.
Je vais raconter celle qui me plaît le plus à moi, c'est les armées de Napoléon, qui emportaient bien sûr le pain, chaque soldat avec son pain. Et comme le pain rond était un peu encombrant, parce qu'ils avaient beaucoup de choses à faire sur eux, Napoléon aurait demandé à faire des pains longs que les hussards pouvaient glisser comme ça dans leurs bottes et leurs pantalons pour pouvoir voyager mieux. Voilà, ça fait partie, encore une fois, de l'histoire. Je pense que, et on le voit bien nous quand on travaille le pain, on façonne le pain et effectivement, des fois, on lui donne une forme qui nous permet de le classer des fois un peu mieux au magasin ou permettre à nos clients de l'emporter un peu plus facilement. Voilà pourquoi je mets toujours quelques guillemets à cette histoire.
But the baguette wasn't exactly formed until Viennese steam oven baking was introduced in Paris by Auguste Zang. This is the same person who is credited for the introduction of croissants in the country. The lengths of these loaves were the longest around the 19th century. Some sources indicate loaves being over 6 feet long. Good luck carrying that home on public transport. Another story connects baguettes to the construction of the Paris metro in the late 19th century, and how the baguettes were easier to tear up and divide, avoiding the knives as well as the arguments among the workers. The name baguette was first coined back in the 1920s. It means a wand, a baton, or a stick. There are several ways to prepare a baguette. Some people might enjoy it plain, but it's also served as part of a meal or as a sandwich with other ingredients. Some prefer a jambon beurre, which is a ham and butter baguette sandwich. They're also served with pâté, a kind of French meat spread. Regardless of how it's served, it is a vital part of French culture. The documentation on the craftsmanship and culture of making a baguette was added to the French Ministry of Culture's National Inventory of Intangible Cultural Heritage back in 2018. But that's not all. Back in 2022, the know-how and culture of this bread was added to UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage list. There is also a competition named La Grande Prix de la Baguette that started back in 1944, which determines who makes the best baguette in the country. Over 200 people participate every year and present their loaves in front of a 14-judge panel. The winner is picked on various standards, including appearance, baking, crumb, and of course, taste. The victor walks away with a €4,000 prize and the privilege of supplying baguettes to the French president for a year until the next winner is picked. Despite its popularity in France, you'd be surprised to know that the country isn't the biggest consumer of baguettes. It falls behind Algeria when it comes to consumption. Almost 50 million baguettes were eaten in the African country every day. According to an estimate, France consumes over 320 baguettes every second. The baguette is one of many examples that represents the country's cultural relationship to food, and together, the people and the bakers are keeping it alive.
Ah là là, c'est la France. le bon goût français, la qualité française, l'artisanat français, l'excellence française.
We hope you've enjoyed the video. Let us know what you like about the baguettes. Please like, subscribe, and share the documentary.